Hello, everyone. Great to see all of you. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. I'm Marie, and I'm so pleased to see you at our live webinar. Today, we'll be talking about Indonesia's Generation Z digital lifestyle. Indonesia's Gen Z makes up almost 30% of its population and spends an average of 8.5 hours daily on their phones. With ages between 20 to 25, they are entering the workforce and is flush with disposable income. In today's webinar, we will share with you the behaviors, habits, and preferences of Gen Z, who are popularly known as true digital natives. A good understanding of trends and opportunities will help you with marketing to these young Indonesian adults. So now, let me introduce our guests. First of all, we have Spire's Deputy CEO, Jeffrey Baha.
Good afternoon, Marie. Good afternoon, everyone.
And then we have our Head of Operations, Ingrid Ricks.
Hi, everyone.
And we have our special guest, Ms. Olivia Ritsky.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much, Olivia, for taking time out to join us today. Now, let's hear from Jeffrey on Indonesia's Gen Z. Over to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Marie. I'll be starting a small presentation to give everyone a little bit of background. How's the Gen Z digital lifestyle in Indonesia? Next slide. So first, we're going to show what is their typical interest and what do they like. As we all know, Gen Z is a digital native generation with the access or being online for at least 4 hours a day or more to go into their social media activities as well as others online activities that they do. Currently, the most popular platforms, including the use of Instagram, watching movie on the YouTube, as well as TikTok, that's actually gaining a lot of popularity recently. And when they go online, typically they'll look for news, food and beverage, aesthetics. As we all typically know, they will watch movie, they are very technology savvy, and they play games. But beside that top three, they actually do has interest on few other things. For example, for food and beverage, fashion style, including beauty, aesthetic spots, sportsman location, as well as art. So do look out for Gen Z to ask for what is the new restaurant, what is the new happening place join to go, what is the latest trends on cosmetic, fashion of the K-pops, and where to go on the newest exotic place for travels, for holidays, as well as new upcoming arts happening in Indonesia. They are the main source and they're very up to date on those as they have very strong interests. Next slide. So some of the interesting characteristic of the Gen Z, the next slide will show here is, of course, they actually are very technology savvy. They are the truly digital native generations compared to Gen Y, who are actually early adopters on technology, and even far greater than Gen X, that is migrators to a digital world actually. Gen Z are born and they start their early life stage exposed to technology, social media, internet, and mobile. Besides a heavy technology or the first adopters, they are also quick in getting the information, very up to date, and they do have a very positive characters. For example, they have ambition to be success. So contrary to the facts that they are carpe diems, but they do have very special characters, positive as mentioned here. High self-confidence. They also have a curious to knowledge, looking for new things to learn. Freedom and flexibility. They want something very quick, instant process, and they do have attention to detail. So they do remember nitty-gritty things about new place, about food and other things, and that's actually resides in their memory very well. Next slide. So to the Gen Z of Indonesia, the goal or value of life actually is very positive as well. We found out from the survey that we done that they are actually quite religious, and that's come out very strongly, and that's very important as a value and goal of life. They do have a goal to be successful in whatever they're doing, career, work, and they are caring. They do give times to families and help each others on some of the volunteer works. One of the things they don't important to them is actually to becoming a famous and popular, because by being famous and popular, they see that it's actually opening up a weakness to invade their privacy space actually. And so we don't see a lot of the Gen Z likes to become a very popular or very famous person. Next slide. This is showing elaborations of the importance of being religious. So there are some activities like this, shows that the reading the Al-Quran, activities on the mosques and places are actually part of their life and daily activities. Next slide. And in terms of time, care, and relation to family, we can see that they do share with their parents when they're at the early adulthood about selecting the universities. They do and consult parents about school issues. But as they grow older into the college life and they're going into the career first jobber, the amount of sharings become less, and they do keep some of the story or things happening in their life as a secret, so not all being shared to the family. Next slide. Daily routine activities of the Gen Z, including spending a lot of times with friends and families, and that's actually a large portion of the daily life of the Gen Z. Besides the social activities, they do spend more time for their personal recreational and personal interests, the me time, watching videos, YouTube, and other streaming. And they do have an active life as well in sports, active in organizations related to the previous findings, some religious activities, and they do play music as well. We can see at the different age of the Gen Z, it actually increase and drop on certain activities. Sports was high during the high school, as well as active in organizations are important in the college life of the Gen Z. But as they enter the job markets, the amount of time they have less, and that percentage actually starting to drop. That's actually happened as well to the playing music instruments. That's also tends to reduce as they go into the career. Next slide. On average, as we mentioned, at least 4 to 6 hours. That's generally the total daily online durations the Gen Z spend per day of being online. It can also increase to 7 to 9 hours and up to more than 12 hours for some of the Gen Z. We see that there's a trend that during their going to the college and the job market, the amounts of hours they spend on online is even getting more actually. On average, it's still 4 to 6, but the portion that's spending 7 to 9, 10 to 12, and even more than 12 is getting more and larger. Next slide. When they go to online activities, these are basically the typical activities they do when they go online. First is for interaction, social interactions, whether it's chats, communications. And the second things they do is mostly for school, works, and business purpose, doing homework, looking for information on the personal interests, buying goods, looking for news, and other information and their hobbies. So it's broadly 3 categories: social interactions for school, work, and business purposes, as well as searching for information. At certain group of age, college and first jobber, we see that the amounts of information of searching increase for some activities there. So you can see a little bit of variations there. And some of them start doing more of the online businesses as they becoming maturing. Next slide. In terms of what is the apps addicts or application they use by the Gen Z of Indonesia, the social media and chats are on the top, and that's almost 80-90% across any age category. Next, after these apps applications, it's the application related to the games, music, video streaming, and photo and video editors. Those are second highest types of app use. Other than that, it's the applications related to news, map navigation, transportation, starting to buy online and doing online digital payments, and education, culinary, and community service. We see different age group also has different influence in terms of which apps are being used the most. Definitely those that are still in the high school will spend a lot of the times on the games, but the percentage starting to reduce as they're getting matured. Applications related to news, map navigation, transportation, e-commerce tends to rise as they get more mature. And you can see that percentage on reds getting higher as they move to the next age group. And online community service as well related to that also increase as they go into college and the job market. Next slide. The winning apps for social media definitely is still Instagram in Indonesia, and I think that's predominantly by far with the next social media application. Facebook still on the second highest rank, then followed by Facebook will be Twitter, Line, and LinkedIn, which they start being exposed to as they go into the job market. The use of Instagram is mainly to look at the content is to look at the influencer, going online shopping and look for information. Facebook is still used predominantly mainly as a complement to Instagram to buy and sell channel. So it's related to the online shopping and looking for goods. Next slide. So in summary, the key takeaway of the Gen Z is they're the true digital native in Indonesia across compared to Gen Y and the millennial and the X. And some of the characters has been mentioned. The friends and family are still important to them. They are still religious, and some community and volunteer activities are still part of their day-to-day routine activities. Amount of time spent on internet has been shown as what is the percentage has increased as they go mature, and the types of social media platform that is popular as media to target or doing marketing to them has been shown in the results earlier as well. I think that's hopefully giving a little bit of background of what is the characters, trends, and behaviors of the Gen Z in Indonesia. Return it back to Marie for the next sharing information. Thanks, Marie.
Yeah, that was that was very interesting. It's good to hear that while they are very social online, they're also very aware of their privacy, and thus therefore they're quite have heightened awareness of privacy issues. It's also good to hear that a lot of them are quite entrepreneurial. I've also met a few who have gone online, and do business. I think that's wonderful, and also quite a break apart from the previous generations. Okay, now following Jeffrey's presentation, I'd like to invite Ingrid, and Ingrid's gonna give us a rundown of a technology survey that we've done. Take it away, Ingrid.
All right. Can you guys see my screen? Let me put full screen. All right. So thank you, Mary, for the introduction. So it's a pleasure for me to share with you the survey results of the Spire survey that was conducted back in March this year about technology product peripheral. So this survey is actually a regional survey, but today I'm just going to share with you the result of Indonesia. So a bit of background of the survey first. So the reason why we did this survey is because we believe that the COVID pandemic have changed the way people think and the way people buy. We know that some of this trend will stay. We know also that some of them will go, but we don't know for sure which one in particular when it comes to technology. So it's the objective of this sharing session is really to share with marketer where the opportunity, where the hanging fruits actually are. So We conducted this in 4 different product categories. So energy saving product category. So product included smart thermostat, smart bulb, smart lights. Safety, health, and fitness category. So that included smartwatch, fitness app, smart locks, etc. Office productivity category. So some of the products that we included are shown here. So digital pen, for example, cloud storage, e-reader. And finally, entertainment and lifestyle product category. So things like OTT TV, smart TV, e-wallet, smart cooking appliances, etc. So the sharing session today is just 15 minutes. So I'm not able to share all the findings about this survey. I'm going to share 4 key things about the product categories, about the post and pre-COVID, about the actual products, and also what are the drivers and what are the barriers for adoption of this technology product. So things that can help marketers to make decisions, basically. Feel free to drop questions as I go along if you have any. All right, so let's get and deep dive into the survey itself. So first sharing, it's about the product category. So a bit of slide orientation first. You can see on the horizontal line the time, on the vertical line the cumulative market penetration. What is it? It's basically the number of people who own at least one product from this product category. At the bottom, under each circle, you have the penetration pre-COVID. That means number of people who own at least one product from this product category. And above, just under the arrow, you can see the expected growth when things settle down with COVID. So we're looking at more long-term trend, not just hype during COVID, right? In green, you can see Gen Z, which is Gen Z, sorry. And in blue, you can see the 35 and above years old, okay? So if you're sharing about this slide, what we can see here is the first product category in the technology area that people purchase is entertainment and lifestyle category. That's really the one that comes first. It's followed by office, productivity category, then health and fitness product category, and then energy saving product category. Second finding from this slide is that Gen Z is a much earlier, much faster adopter than its parents or older people, 35 and above. You can see for every single product category, they are ahead of time. When it comes to growth in a post-COVID era, you can see that 3 categories actually striving more than the rest. Number 1 will be office productivity category, which I believe is not so surprising. And this is valid for both Gen Z and 35 and above. Second, we have the health and the energy saving product category, again, for both Gen Z and 35 and above. And following after, not so far behind, safety, health and fitness product category. You may argue that after all, the entertainment category is not striving as much as the rest. That's true. But what is also true is most people who really wanted to adopt a product from this product category already own one. That means the first ownership is actually already there for those who really wanted to. If you look at actual product, as we'll see in the next slide, you can see that actually there's some differences in some product that people are very, very interested in owning. So let's move on to product level in my next slide. So this is for Gen Z first in green. We're going from left to right. So first, energy saving product category. What we can see here is basically the product that is more likely to strive in a post-COVID era is smart thermostat. What I can read from there is that basically Gen Z is very practical. It's indeed the product that will make more saving and also the product that will contribute the most to the environment. But that makes sense. Healthy, safety, health and fitness product category. So the growth here is expected between 7 to 16%. What I find very interesting in this slide is basically the product that have more potential for growth, actually more in a prevention kind of bucket, if you want to put it that way. Smart vacuum cleaners, so looking for health safety somehow, and also smart lock around security. Moving on to office productivity category. So the growth here is typically between 10 to 20%, but there's a twist here. As you can see, the high-tech mouse, the growth is 42%, which is extremely high. And that was the case also, as we'll see later, for the 35 and above, but also across all the other countries that we have studied for this research. So you might wonder why, and that's exactly what we did. So I come up with a few reasons for that. So let me explain them to you quickly. So first reason, it's an attribute that is very easy to use. People are familiar with mouse. It's used for multiple situations, so for work, for playing. Also, everyone is used to in the house as well, and it's a low value kind of product. So basically, this kind of product actually ticks all the boxes for a high adoption rate when you're stuck at home or when you want to do things at home. So that's why. Moving on to the entertainment and lifestyle product category. So again, the growth here was between 8 to 14%. What I find quite interesting is smart cooking appliances is quite high compared to any other country. So Indonesians love food and they love to cook their food. Okay, moving on to the next slide, which is basically the same information, but this time for the 35 and above years old. So on average, they own 5.6 product, which is slightly under as expected compared to the Gen Z. So moving on to product categories one by one. So energy saving product category, we can see the growth is exactly the same for smart light, smart plug, smart thermostat. What does that mean? It's basically they're more into energy saving product and they differentiate product much less. They're less practical, they're more idealistic, put it that way. Health and fitness product category. So we saw earlier that the Gen Z was more into the prevention. It seems that when you look at the 35 and above, you're more looking at cure. So you can see, for example, that health wearable has the highest potential growth rate. Most of the health wearable that we have been asking about were things that are more to monitor existing conditions. That's why. Office productivity category. So exactly the same finding as for the Gen Z. So high-tech mouse, very, very high potential, and the rest between 11 to 19. So very similar. And when it comes to entertainment and lifestyle, again, between 6 to 15%, and smart cooking appliances extremely high, the highest of all groups and all countries. Okay, so now we have seen product category level, we have seen product level. Now let's look what make people tick, what make people more likely to buy technology products. So we asked the question in the post-COVID context. So when COVID will be over, when reflecting on after what happened, what would make them likely to buy products? So the number one reason was to improve productivity. That was very high and even higher for the 35 and above. What is interesting about these features is that in the pre-COVID era, we also asked the question before COVID, it was ranked second, not ranked first. And the number were exactly the same. What does that mean? That people now have much more need than they used to. So I'm sure your next question is what was first? Well, it was comfort. Comfort was the most important thing before COVID when people were buying technology products. And that's completely shifted. People are more practical, they want numbers, they want to make things better. They're less into the fluff and the bling bling kind of attitude. Second, provide more information. So here we are not looking at blog or newspaper or anything like that. Information about the product use, how many users, how long, how often, this kind of thing. So again, very practical, make the best use of what you have. This item actually did not appear in the top 5 in a pre-COVID situation. That's something that has definitely increased widely in importance. And you can see for both Gen Z and 35 and above. Improved safety, security is almost equally important for both. And again, it's something that didn't appear in a pre-COVID situation, something that now is really important to people. Improving comfort, as mentioned earlier, the importance has decreased dramatically. It ranked first, now it ranked fourth. And when you look at number, you're looking about a 50% discount. So basically, comfort is still important. It's more so for the 35 and above, but much less than it used to. Improving health, if you look at the ranking in the pre-COVID era, it was ranked 5th, but there's a little twist. Now the numbers are double to what they used to be. So quite a significant change, basically, when it comes to drivers. Now let's look at things that prevent people from purchasing or just make them postpone purchasing attitude. So first, number one, concern, whether it's real or perceived, people are concerned about the use of their private information. There could be private data such as address, email, etc. Also can be more subtle. How many times did you use the application? How many people? How long, etc. So I think here there's a need for giving them control on what is shared, what is not eventually, and also maybe educating those who may not be aware how much is shared, so can adopt the product faster or adopt it at all. Second concern, making people lazy, less creative. That's something that surprised me at first, but I think it makes sense. The technology is here to help people to do things better and faster. But for example, in the example of smart light, if the children are used not to switch off the light because the system will do automatically, it may not be the best approach. So that's the kind of thing. So automation is good so long as it's useful and achieve the goal that is planned. So again, some kind of control, some kind of setting could help people to adopt technology better. There's not much difference actually between Gen Z and the rest, but a bit more important for Gen Z. Not matching the expected benefit is genuine concern. People want to have what they purchase for. That makes total sense. Things that are unnecessarily complicated is very important. Ease of use is a key product feature. If product is hard to install, hard to use, or hard to maintain, it's just simply not great, and especially for 35 and above. And finally, not waste the money. Technology products are getting more and more accessible to most people, but it's a barrier for certain people, and especially Gen Z, because they are not yet at the peak of their career. So that's all I wanted to share today. So I've shared around product category, around product, barriers, and also drivers of technology.
Thanks, Ingrid. I find it interesting that almost 60% cited improving productivity for buying or subscribing a tech product, while over 80% are concerned about their private information. But that actually supports what Jeffrey presented earlier about privacy and protective over their personal information. Well, next up we have Olivia, and Olivia, amongst us, she is with Gen Z or Gen Z. So right now, I'll let Olivia introduce herself. She's prepared something to show us.
Okay, so I'm gonna share screen something. Okay, can everyone see? Yes. So hi, my name is Olivia. This year I'm gonna be this year I was 19, and this is my little introduction. So since a kid, my parents already allow me to try a lot of experience and activities. And here's the activities that I do a lot. So I start here. I start with sport. I play basketball since I was third grade, and in 2017 I got a change uh, to go to America and play in NCAA. It was the one of the America competition, and I was representing Singapore team in here. And also I practice softball, skating, and other sport. And you can see there's some art. I do dance, traditional dance. This picture was taken when me and my teammate joining Fifth Children Festival World Festival in Washington D.C. And I also do some art in my school, which is theater, and I was a cast back then. For me, organization is important. I am a part of these three organizations: CSV Indonesia, ID, and FFPCI. I'm more active in CSV. Also in CSV, they teach me not to addict to gadget, and I've already survived 1 month without gadget by participating their their camp. Um, okay, next slide. Here's some my internship is another challenge for me. I have to blend with any other generation in here. If you can see, I was the youngest in this two company, and it it makes me learn so much thing. I got a much more experience that I got from other generation. In IAG, I was on marketing communication for channel Champions TV 1 and Champions TV 2. I was responsible for all the tennis program, and I also uh, scheduling the movies for Citra Bioscope and IBCW. Why I also want to be a marketing communication in there, because it is very interesting for me to talk about gender equality in workplace, gender pay gap, and the sexual harassment, and other than that, and is really grow me so much in IBCV, and I have a lot of meet a good and excellent people, and this really helped me. And I think that's for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Well, right now we have a video that we'd like to show you. It sums up pretty much what we have.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Reza Arficio, a consultant from Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia, and will talk about the characteristics and topics of the Z generation. Let us start. Hi. The most distinguishing thing between the Z generation and the previous generation is their closeness to technology. When compared to the previous generation, Generation Z has a higher level of technology, for example, in terms of finding information. If the previous generation had to visit a place or meet a lot of people to get little information, Generation Z can access information on only one device, for example, on a smartphone. On average, Generation Z spends 4 to 6 hours per day just to find information. The information is usually sought via the internet and accessed using a smartphone they have. Inside the smartphone they have, there are various applications installed on the smartphone. One of them is social media. Then there are also applications for chatting, for games, for shopping online, and maybe also various other supporting applications for finding information. We take the example of Instagram. Instagram is the most recognized and most commonly used social media among generations of Z. Instagram is used in a variety of ways, one of which is to search for information, find information about them, continue to turn on the event to socialize, and can also find information about other social medias. Now we talk about the characteristics of Generation Z. This Generation Z tends to be more expressive in telling the things they feel. Along with the development of technology and media today, they tend to express more of what they feel and pour it into these media. Thus, they want to be well known by the public but not become a trendsetter. Why is that? Because by being a trendsetter, they will be cornered against the pros and cons of the trends they bring. As they will have more haters, then they have to match the content they carry or the value they bring with the conditions that the majority of people understand. They tend to be more selective in choosing and following a lifestyle. Why is that? Because they have values and norms that are shared in society. These values and norms are usually instilled by their parents or implanted from the environment and carried to their present age. By being exposed to various sources of information that come from the internet and are associated with the values and norms they profess, they can be more selective in choosing developments or the trends that they will adopt. Fourth, by being exposed to various sources of information, they tend to be more open-minded. They respect the differences more and do not look down on opinions that differ from their own. Then, they tend to think more progressively, try to solve the problems that exist at this time so that later in life, they will tend to be better than the present. Fifth, even though they are exposed to the diversity of information and culture that they access on the internet, they still uphold religious values. Even among them, there are still those who follow religious activities or social activities. Their goal is not to seek popularity or financial benefits, but they are willing to participate in these activities voluntarily. Okay, in conclusion, the difference between the Z generation and the previous generation is their closeness to the technology. This is because they grow and develop together with technological developments. And this has started since they were at an early age. Therefore, for business people who do target Generation Z, they must position and make adjustments in strategies. For more information about Generation Z or opportunities to explore in Generation Z, friends can access the link below and contact Spire Indonesia. Okay, friends, that's all we can share for now. See you in the next video. Peace out.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. I think today's I'm quite impressed with Generation Z because they seem like quite a sensible um, and yet sensitive generation. It's really a promise of a new generation bringing us forward. So now I have some questions for our panel. I'm going to start with Olivia. Olivia, as an active sports person, having been a pro basketball player since 2017, are sporting activities important to Gen Z?
For me, as a basketball player, it is important for Gen Z. Uh, as you know, we like to eat fast food, much sugar, and then go everywhere by car or other transportation. And we can sleep less than 4 until 5 hours, and our body's not fit at all. Not like the boomer, like and in my age, maybe they're like to go like walk, go to school, and then do other sport. But if we talk about sport, maybe right now in this nowadays, we have esport.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of Gen Z do more esport than the sport in the field. So it's more practical and easiest, but sport also help us to build our connection. It also can be our achievement. If we want to do some high social life, we just do sport that was trending, nowadays. So I think it was quietly important for Gen Z.
I see, I see. Now, Jeffrey, in your presentation, you mentioned that sports ranked fourth for the Gen Z routine activities. Can you tell us more on how to tap on this for marketing opportunities?
Sure, Marie. As we have seen some example from the personal life of Olivia and the findings from my presentation, they do has Gen Z has active life, and sport is one of the important to them actually. So if you're marketers of sport products, healthy products, uniform jersey, and related to sport, I think that's a big market. You can tap into that. And in my slides, we see that the earlier age of the Gen Z, those that are still in the high school, are still engaging a lot on, beside watching a YouTube video, the next thing they do is actually a lot of sport activities. You need to be very selective on what kind of sport will be interested to them. Definitely the example Olivia mentions, basketball is one of the most popular sport that the Gen Z do at the moment. And I think there are two other sports that worth mentioning. It could be on the rise, it could be on the going down trends. It's the soccer and badminton. Those are has been These three sport has been actually in the part of the younger generation of Indonesia from even the previous generations. So uh, do tap into those opportunities. And of course, there's a new type of sports nowadays that the Gen Z doing. That is the e-sport. Actually, it's nothing to do with the physical activities, but it's more a gaming competition e-sport. For e-sport, I think that relates to what Ingrid has shown. There's some product category, mouse, headsets, gamers activities, PC related technologies. I think that will be very relevant to the new digital sport or e-sport of the Gen Z.
Wow, interesting. I suppose esports is something that maybe the older people need to get on board as well. Well, okay, my next question is on content. So, being digital natives, Gen Z consume a lot of online content. Would it be correct to say that TV broadcast channels are not as important to Gen Z? Jeffrey?
Okay. It's true that the channel they watch the most not only it's YouTube, and there's also a lot of other new streaming broadcasting channels, IG, Facebook, and so on actually. But to the TV broadcasting channels, if you're still advertising to those channels, I think it's not about the channels, but it's actually what is the platforms that is used to broadcast and outreach to them actually. We can see that a lot of the traditional free-to-air and paid movies like Netflix actually are still very popular to the Gen Z. You just need to switch to digital broadcasting and streaming. So some of the channel that is usually watched from TV, it has to be actually air or show on the YouTube and others digital streaming platforms, Netflix and so on actually. Then those channels will be still relevant. Sport related activities, I think will be very relevant, but avoid doing it on TV, but try to move to a digital platforms.
So it's about the platform. It's not so, I mean, it's content, but most importantly, it's about the platform. Now, Olivia, you've had professional experience in TV broadcasting. What are your views on TV broadcast channels reaching out to Gen Z?
I was working for sport program, and most our viewers is boys and men because our focus in soccer. But there's a lot of Gen Z watch the game if the season comes, and if not, they were more interested in YouTube or OTT TV. And but it different. If we talk about Gen Z, we have Gen Z stay in small city and big city. Maybe most of Gen Z who stay in big city, they're more interested in YouTube and OTT TV. But in small TV, a small city, they still need to update the channel and the kind of broadcasting like that. And to stabilize our viewers, we put other sport like tennis and golf. And we also post some clips of the game that we post through our social media. In social media we put a lot of effort in here. Um, we have to immediately update while before and after the game, because the social media is the easiest ways and the fastest way to find uh, information all about the game or other information.
So you have to get it up really quickly because it's fighting for time. The first one gets in the fastest news. The first one to get the news, then you will attract people. So you have to be very quick. Time is of essence.
Yes, it is. Believe it or not, most of tennis game, it was 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. So before I go to office, I have to update first, and then while in the traffic jam, I still my laptop updating the score and then the about the game. So it was all about updating. So yeah.
I see. I see. Thanks, Olivia. Now I have a question for Ingrid. Ingrid, in your presentation, you said that entertainment and lifestyle product category shows impressive ownership take-up rate with strong growth during COVID-19 for smart products. So what are the specific new products Gen Z look for during COVID-19? Can you give us some examples and the rationale to these preferences?
Okay. From the survey, what we can tell is that Gen Z actually, well, I mean, of course, is born with the technology, but they have a very rational approach when it comes to their product choices compared to seniors. So back to your question on the entertainment category, the commonality of the product that, in my view, have the highest potential for growth are those who are actually not just for self, but also for the family, has a broader reach, rather for multiple use. This is why, for example, smart TV is a tool for buying stuff, not for self, but also for other people in the family. If you look at other category, the differences between Gen Z and 35 and above is much more discriminating. So back to what I said earlier, the energy saving category, for a Gen Z, smart thermostat is extremely likely to take up, to kick up When you look at health-related product, we're more looking at prevention than cure. So any product that basically tick the boxes for 2, 3, or more reason, like the one I mentioned, or those from the drivers, are more likely to take up. Something also you can't forget is also that Gen Z like gadgets. This is also why certain products, even though they don't tick all the boxes, still are very popular. I guess mostly driven by the low prices. So here you have a digital pen or Bluetooth laser projector, for example.
I see. How about the main product categories that are commonly associated with them, like online gaming, high-tech headphones, and OTT TV?
Yeah, again, I suggest to have a broader view. I mean, OTT TV is just one-off, maybe. I think products who are over time likely to strive, as it seemed in a post-COVID era, are products that tick the boxes for multiple things. So use for work and leisure at the same time, for family, but also for self. Products that are easy to use, products that are relatively cheap, products who don't use personal data. Any product that tick multiple box, or any product category that tick multiple box is more likely to take up in a longer term. So that's why, for example, headphones are very popular because it can be used for work and, for example, also for leisure.
Okay, so they like their gadgets, but they also like to make sure that it serves more than one purpose.
Yeah.
So as to speak. Okay, well, now I'd like to touch on interesting Gen Z behaviors and preferences in general, such as being early adopters of technology, social media habits, their values, and unique interests. I'd like to ask our panel what you have observed that are interesting and unique to them. Perhaps I start with Ingrid.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, one of the key things about Gen Z is they really adopt category faster and more strongly than a category before them. So what is great about this segment for marketer is they're really good for testing out product. Not only because they adopt faster and better, but they're the early adopter, basically those who will drive basically the demand, but also because their need is much wider than would be the need of the 35 and above, which means basically when you look at the driver that I showed before, and also at the constraint or the barrier for adoption, they have much more citation or much more different needs than other categories. So if you meet the need of these people, you probably meet the need for everyone else.
I see. That's interesting. And Jeffrey, what are your observations?
Okay, for Indonesia, if you're interested to do a lot of digital marketing, it's important that to use of the celebgram, influencer, and the content creators. Recently in the news in Indonesia, there was rumors talking about the government of Indonesia, President Jokowi and the cabinet spend lots of billions of the budget paying the influencers. Even governments do that actually. So I'll just mention a few examples of importance or key Telegram influencer and content creator that's similar to what traditionally the non-digital marketings do, investing for the brand ambassadors actually. So Telegrams, there's a few very popular with millions of followers, like Nia Ramadhani, the famous actress in Indonesia, Gisela Anastasia, Jennifer Backniem, of the wife of the popular Bali United players. Influencers, we see a few top influencers in Indonesia that have millions of followers. Tasha Farasha, Rachel Fenia, Ayla Dimitri, those are the macro influencers that focus a lot on the makeup, beauties, and fashion products for the celebgrams. And the last category will be the content creator. Just mention a few names like the Next Carlos. That's very relevant if you're on the food industry related with 3.5 million. The latest checks are checks on the followers. There's also Jessica Jane or Just No Limits, who are important for the gamers and do a lot of TikToks. And also recently, she do a lot of mukbang, which is the Korean eating shows that's very popular as well in Indonesia. And perhaps I'll mention one, two more on the sports related. There's influencers like Melody Saptania as well as Sally Tanujaya. The numbers of followers may be not as high as those names being mentioned before, but these are more true sports related influencers in Indonesia.
I see. What about you, Olivia?
Our Gen Z skill with social media is not going to completely positive. It also linked to feel depression, anxiety, and unhappiness. But beside that, Gen Z is also value equality the most, whether talking about race, gender pay gap, gender equality, or others, because we are more open and we are more comfortable with who we are, what we have, and what we capable of. And I think that's it.
So you're more open and comfortable, and you know, you are the future leaders. Actually, not future. You are already the leaders, because leading the way. This is the new frontier that um, we are coming to. So, well, thank you, panel. Now, we've got some questions from our audience. Let me take a look. And the first one is on TikTok. TikTok is rapidly popular recently. How much is it used compared to other social media and the profile of its users? Who would like to, maybe Jeffrey, do you have some thoughts on this?
Okay, maybe I think it's related to the celebgram and the influencer and content creator. All these digital marketers are actually using a few platforms. They either use Instagrams, YouTube, website or blog, WordPress, as well as TikTok, which is one of the platforms they recently use a lot actually. But if you look at the way that the celebgram and influencers are using this media, they still mainly using Instagrams for celebgrams, and influencers. Yeah, they use Instagram as well and a little bit of YouTube. TikTok is always used as the complement, is for fun, to increase people to the other main social platforms like Instagram and YouTube. So it's still used for fun, not as the main media for them to attract the follower.
I see. Any chance it's gonna be more than fun, do you think, in the future?
I still see that actually it's still used as perhaps it's the third or fourth after Instagrams and YouTube as the main platforms for them actually. I don't see them that taking over the first two, Instagram and YouTube.
I see. Okay. The next question, do you think that Gen Z has much influence on their parents' purchases, especially in technology products?
I think that's a question for me.
Sure.
um, I'm not sure about this. I think it's 50-50, especially for product technology, because we buy that product depends on what we need. So uh, for white collar job, I think they're more needed than blue collar job, but it also depends on the income that they have. So uh, I'm not sure about this, so I go with 50-50.
50-50?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the next question is for Jeffrey. Among the different names of top Indonesia labgrams, influencers and content creators, what social media platform do you use the most, and what are the specialty areas related to product?
Mm. I think the platform I've mentioned earlier, the celebgrams will be using a lot of IG as the main platform to attract the follower. So if you're thinking of promoting or marketing your products with celebgrams and influencers, mostly will goes to their IG. But for content creator, they'll be using a lot of YouTube video And occasionally, all three this category will be using TikTok as I mentioned. But there are different product category that each of these main digital marketers will help your products. The celebrants typically like Nia Ramadhani will be more towards fashion products, branded and luxurious. I think that's the image that the Telegram has actually. But if you look at the influencers, I think there's a lot of whole range of products that you can get promoted by the influencers. Tasha, Rachel's, and Venia, I think it's very relevant if you're promoting about the makeup products and the beauty. And if you have some products related to the family and perhaps maybe related to the health, I think the Rachel Venia will be quite relevant influences. And sports, as I mentioned, Melody, Septania, and Sali Tanuwijaya will be relevant on that. If you have some healthy foods, perhaps the next Carlos that's very specialized on content creator on the food reviews will be relevant. And you can try out Jessica just no limit as well as she do post a lot of mukbang or eating show as well as perhaps your digital marketing ambassadors or content creator.
I see. That's quite a lot. Okay, the next question. Both Gen Z and 35 plus, over 35 years old, rated highly in lifestyle and entertainment for consumer ownership of technology products. What are the differences between these two age groups for this category? That would be for Ingrid.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a very good question, actually. We tried to look into this, and I was quite disappointed to see that there were more difference across country than there are across categories. So what does that mean? That most of the needs and the enabler basically to adopt technology product and most of the barrier actually rather universal. So when you look at the differences, if you really want to force it a bit, because roughly in terms of ranking is the same, the main differences for drivers are in terms of productivity. So there's about 20 percentage points between Gen Z and 35 and above. So they're more rational in terms of productivity, or they're more asking more productivity facts. When you look at comfort, on the other hand, you can see that Gen Z is much less interested in these things. He has much more different needs that is spread across. Another difference is in terms of pain points, so more concern when it comes to adoption for 35 and above into private information issue, even for both is the very first concern. And of course, 35 and above, they're not digital natives, so they're more concerned about devices to be easy to use and not to get them in lots of trouble for installation, for maintenance, and for normal usage. So basically, in terms of adoption, so more importance for productivity and comfort for 35 and above. And when it comes to pain points, more importance on private information and ease of use for 35 and above compared to Gen Z.
I see. The comfort of use. Okay, now next one. Next one is on digital payment. Will digital payment replace traditional payment methods? If so, which type of digital payments do Gen Z prefer? Jeffrey, do you have that?
Yeah, I'll mention a few, and maybe Olivia, as a representative of Gen Z, also can mention what is her personal preference. In overall, when we observe the digital payments, I think it's there's a lot of option in Indonesia now. Digital payments related to the rate hailings, GoPay and GrabOFO are actually getting top popularity. And there's also digital payments coming from the e-commerce, like the Shopee Pay and those others. Those are actually gaining the place among the Gen Z popular. Is that correct, Olivia? What is your favorite e-money that you use for payment?
For me and my friend, we mostly use GoPay and OFO because I think it's much easier and practical. That's all. And we also active users to Gojek and Grab.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think as well, actually. So it's correct prediction then.
So we will see quite phasing out, or the portion of traditional payments through cash and all, even credit card getting
Yeah,
small.
I think that's what really happens during the COVID. I think the disruptions with the payment industry is actually a very major shift, and I think it's all in favor of the digital payment nowadays.
Okay. Now, the next question: has COVID lockdowns influenced Gen Z digital trends? Olivia?
Okay. I think it's influenced more than I think. So global internet user has grown much more than we think, and then the social media user is increased even faster. Also, currently active user globally same as OTT TV and online game, because since COVID-19, we have to quarantine ourselves at home. We cannot meet our friends or go outside. So we just do me time. What we do when me time is watching Netflix, play videos game, and we can watch 2 until 3 movies every day. So it's really influence us much.
Or you can watch a whole series?
Yes, I can watch the whole series. I
Yeah,
can spend like 2 days to finish that. So
binge watch.
yeah.
Okay, now we have a question from Michelle. Michelle asks, is there any interesting Gen Z, sorry, is there any new interest by Gen Z on non-digital activities such as scrapbooking, gardening, reading physical books, magazines, arts and crafts because of digital fatigue? Do you think there's digital fatigue sometimes for Gen Z?
Uh,
Olivia?
yeah, I can answer that too as well, but I'll
Oh
let
yeah,
Olivia speak as well. Olivia, go ahead, please.
yeah.
You can just speak first.
Okay. Maybe I share a little bit on from my findings to answer Michelle's questions.
Mhm.
The presentations I made actually shows that the Gen Z has very active life, me time, not only watching YouTube video, but they do a lot of social activities, volunteering. As you can see, Olivia is doing that as well. They're active on the sport activities, art activities, food and beverage, of course, but during the COVID, I think it's limited at the moment. So the range of activities actually quite wide, and some community and religious service activity as well, actually. So Gen Z are active and exposed to a lot of different activities. Uh, but the drawback is a lot of the activities is related to the digital platforms and a way to reach them, actually. I would say 80% of the activities it's channeled through digital. I think it's only about maybe 20-30% it's non-digital through interactions. But I think the COVID had slowed it down a lot. But yeah, you still need to go through using the digital platforms to promote different types of activities among the Gen Z. Is that correct, Olivia? What do you think?
Olivia, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree about that. We can see this situation is really hard for us to go outside and meet people. So new interest that we do since the quarantine is just not just me time, because me time is all we only do that when the first quarantine, and here is past I don't know how much month that we already passed, but nowadays we do like a lot of activities like knitting or like cooking. Even we we really had hate to cook, but we don't have any activities, so we just do what we can do, or cleaning up our room and kind of stuff like that, or just drawing something. A lot of my friends love right now nowadays they love to draw, to draw something.
Mhm.
Bicycle. They do a lot of
Ah,
bicycle.
ah. I suppose the cooking bit, that's why smart cooking machines are also, the demand has gone up.
Yeah, that's right. Because smart cooking is much faster than the original one. We want to cook, but we don't want to be complicated, so
Right.
we go for smart cooking. That's why.
I see. Okay, well, mindful of the time, we'll take one more question. This one, how Gen Z see medicine or supplement? Um, what do we know their views on natural trends? I think she means trends on natural product.
From Jeffrey first, I think it's not the Gen Z, but I think it's in general across many generation. But I think it applies to Gen Z as well. The COVID has bring a lot of more people to be more conscious about their health. In the previous webinar, we do some facts showing that healthy products, juices, drinks, and food even actually has gained popularity in Indonesia during the COVID period actually. So the I've mentioned earlier, I think there are some influencers, celebgram that is actually more into sport, healthy, and eating right. There's also mukbangs, eating shows. I think that's very relevant, and that can be used as digital mean to outreach to the Gen Zs. Maybe perhaps not as medicines or supplements, but as a more as a healthy lifestyle. I think that will strike them well.
I see. Um, Olivia, do you have any observation on that?
Uh, yes. So I think not only medicine and supplement, but it's again we fix our natural life, so we become more healthier in a good way, not just take some medicine or supplement, but we also jogging every morning, eat healthy food, eat we less eat fast food in the situation because we scared about the other things and stuff like that. So we fixed our lifestyle in this situation to be much better. Especially we are Gen Z, so we are the next generation. So we have to be prepared and we have to get through all this situation. So we have to survive, and the way that we have to survive is we fix it the good way in the right way.
I
Yeah, I
see.
think that's all.
Thank you. Well, I'm about to break out into song with Beyonce's "I'm a Survivor," but I don't know if Gen Z knows that song. Well, thank you all so much for a lively webinar. Thank you so much for answering, taking on the questions from the audience as well. And thank you all, our audience, for joining us today. So thank you, Ingrid, Jeffrey, and Olivia, for preparing for this session. We hope that all of you find this session very informative and useful. If you have any question or you would like to find out more about Spire Research and Consulting, drop us an email at spireresearch.com. Thank you, and we will see you at the next webinar.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much. Bye. Bye
You.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
all.